The debate. The debate. The debate. Sir, excuse me. So there was a debate between two popular content creators. I don't need to explain this. Bro, I watched the debate, okay? Right. How did it go? What do we think? What do we think? Well, before we say what I think, how about we see what people think? We already know what both Candace and Andrew think. Candace thinks she won. Andrew thinks he won. What does PBD think? Considering the fact that he was the, moderator.
You know who I will say won?
Right.
Here's who I will say won. I think both of them won, and I'll tell you why they won. But I think Candace won because she got the money and she presented her argument. And in an area where she conceded, she says, I don't know why you're playing this video. I already conceded to you. And I said, yeah, I was wrong. Mm-hmm. And she did that. So that was good for her to do that. And I think she got in front of an audience and moved some people that probably don't watch her content. Remember, baptizing is key. Baptizing is key. And I think Andrew Wilson won because, let me explain it to you how much he won.
I'm confused because, if they both, everybody's a winner. Participation is what counts. Everyone is a winner. Like in the 1978 funk soul song. What do you know? You were born 2 days ago. Everyone is a winner, like with children. Anyway, so Candace won because of that. What, Andrew?
How much he won. And I think he won more than Candace won.
Okay, so
your argument's going to be...
No, wait. So you think Andrew won? I'm sorry. Oh, this is going to be a long one, isn't it? Man, well, at least you clicked me. Why did you click me, considering I'm all over the place? Because I'm not toxic, right? Because there's a lot of toxicity out there of people that are being, disgusting about this. And at least with me, you get smiles. We have a lot of fun while you drink your coffee. Fantastic. Now, talking about toxicity. Me, no toxicity. People in the comments. Particularly Candace Owens fans. It is what it is. I'm gonna monetize the shit out of you. So yeah, please come tell me how much of an idiot I am. I'm a moron. Okay, fine. That's what I like. Interaction. Let's go. Come on, we want 100,000 views on this video. Come on, do it.
Very, very weird. You ready?
Go ahead.
You ready?
All right.
This guy spent $300,000 and got somewhere between...
I'm not making fun of his accent. I actually like it. I love it that he says conversation. I love his accent.
$50 to $200 million of ad viewership.
Yeah. Great.
No, wait, what?
Very, very weird. You ready?
Right.
You ready? This guy spent $300,000 and got somewhere between $50 to $200 million of ad viewership.
Yeah. Great point.
So guess what?
He's a big winner.
My wife at home says, who was the guy? I'd never seen him before. My dad says, most people, his YouTube channel only had 180, 200,000 subs.
Yeah.
Very good, eloquent. I've had him on. He's been on Rogan a couple times. So he's getting the momentum.
Right.
I think Andrew Wilson won because for everybody that says, what an idiot to give $300,000, I think it's the same story as Kanye spent $7 million on an ad for Super Bowl and sold $25 million of merch. I think Andrew Wilson won because overnight now everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Very simple. Yeah. So from the business standpoint, Andrew Wilson made a lot more than $300,000.
I agree with that. Okay, that's it. Yes, so I agree with that, and I've seen people that are like using the shaming thing. That's saying, "Oh, a business genius. He spent $300,000 just for this. What a business genius, bro." I'm just gonna say this because I think people are allowing. I don't know these numbers. That PBD. I don't know where he got that. To be honest, I haven't got a clue. But one thing I do know for a fact, they both made an insane amount of money off of this. Okay, I saw Andrew Wilson going live the other day. Now he removed the live stream as he often does. I think he makes them private after he's done. But at the very end of the live stream, I clicked it and I managed to see it before he unlisted it. And he had made $11,000 out of 2 hours and 20 minutes of streaming. So this idea, plus on top of the crowd, so people look at the crowdfunding, they see, oh, he didn't reach 300,000. What an idiot, he lost money. No, you're the idiot because you don't know how this works. So even if you hate his guts, what's the purpose on living on Fantasyland if you really think he lost money on this? It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It would be like me. I really dislike Candace Owens, but I'm not going to pretend she lost money. She made a fuck ton of money out of this. And 4.7 million views on the playback or the VOD of the stream alone. You know how much money she made out of that? Am I going to deny it? It's stupid to deny it, particularly when you do. And you try to... Like, no, both made a lot of money. And there is the value, pricing value of exposure. So there is that. Now, having said that, okay, so PBD only covered the, I guess, money idea, and then he said the idea of baptizing. What does it mean by that? It's recruitment, right? Because people see them. She's already extremely popular, which is why she was the sub that was being paid. That's the reason. And for him, of course, it's an opportunity to get his name out there. But regardless, they both got out there, their names, everybody's talking about them, particularly the ones who hate them. When you watch someone, and when you go into their comment section and spam them with hatred, you are helping them. You're helping me. Right? My haters help me all the time. They're just too stupid to realize it, that sometimes they do know it, but they just can't control themselves. They just read something on Reddit and they have to come and tell me how much of a fascist I am. And by doing that, they create a flame war in my comment section on YouTube. Creators benefit from hatred and support all the same. Now let's talk about popular opinion. A lot of people did this, a poll. I did the poll as well. I got 3,300 votes, and the final result was that according to my community on X, so perhaps if I did this on YouTube, it might have been different, but when it comes to my community on X, I said, who do you think is winning the debate right now? So it was in the middle of the debate, and people overwhelmingly voted for Andrew Wilson with a 79.9% against Candace Owens with a 20.1%. What does this tell you? Does it tell you who actually won? No, it tells you the popular perception when it comes to that single community. And in fact, not just that single community, because PBD ran the same thing, and instead on his end, at least on X, Candace won. But then again, Candace has the largest audience, so it is very likely that due to the fact that he was the moderator, well, they went and spammed it just because they want Candace to win. But then again, I think he launched the same thing on YouTube and it was reversed. Steven Crowder did the same thing, and Andrew Wilson won on that end. And of course, the respective polls, if Andrew Wilson is going to run it, it's going to say Andrew Wilson won. And if Candace Owens is going to run it, it's going to say Candace Owens won. What this tells you once again is, first and foremost, tribalism, partisan takes. People had already decided who wins before they even watched. Now, on his end, Andrew Wilson is arguing that every AI source will say he won, and so far it looks like that these software engines that are designed to provide an analysis of any given debate and then decide who won seem to skew in his favor. There is a 26.5/35 for Andrew Wilson versus Candace Owens 20.035. And then, as you can see, there are a variety of elements taken into consideration: clarity and precision, rebuttal, quality of engagement, positional consistency, lack of fallacies, logical validity and soundness, evidential quality and burden of proof, emotional pathos, and yeah, that's what it's looking at least for this one that we are reviewing. But of course, if you hate Andrew Wilson, you will say, oh, so now you trust Skynet? Now you trust AI? Look, I haven't got a clue. I don't know how these function, but I do know one thing. There are, generally speaking, two ways to analyze a debate. Either we can look at it professionally, for which, I mean, you need someone who understands debating, right? Because oftentimes professional debaters, it is a skill, by the way, they will analyze other people's debates, and so they will give you a professional take. That's something I cannot do because I haven't got a clue I have a very general idea because I watch debates, but I wouldn't be able to give you an analysis of logical fallacies and implementation and how they argued technically. So I'll leave that one to the pros. But there is another element to it. There are like judges. Sometimes they exist, I believe, but this was not the case. But then there is popular perception. Now, when it comes to popular perception, people don't know necessarily the fallacies, the mechanisms of debates. So there are two things that will skew popular perception: emotional connection. So once again, as I say, you're a fanboy or a fangirl or one creator, like unless they completely botch the job, and sometimes even then, you will say they won. Spoiler alert, I don't think either of the two botched the job, at least in my opinion. So that's one thing. But other times you do have people who are like, normally I support X, but in this case, why? Do they understand the technical mechanics of it? No, but it's a feels thing. Like you watch it and you're thinking to yourself, did they persuade me? Did they change my mind? Did this person make me see it their way? Did this person refute the opponent's argument in a way that makes sense logically to me? To what degree do I now trust the debater after all of this debate has been watched, as opposed to before watching it? These are questions that we can all ask without having to understand debate inner functions and how it's supposed to be done, because these are things that either hit us emotionally or hit us intellectually. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth. My personal take so far is that I don't think any of the two botched the job, and I don't think there was like a slam dunk situation where Candace destroyed Andrew or Andrew annihilated Candace. I personally think that watching the debate, the first 30 minutes, Andrew was really strong, very solid foundation. Then there were some points where Candace managed to give him answers that were very decent. The problem is that then some of those were fact-checked, and in fact they were wrong. So we'll have to take that into consideration. I'll show you a couple. There were a couple of times where Andrew conceded some points that I don't think he should have, and I think he could have pressed. But then again, I mean, I say this as someone who's comfortably sitting here. Had I been placed in his position, I would have been annihilated because I haven't got a clue how to debate. So I'm only saying this to be fair. You know that I support Andrew Wilson over Candace Owens, and the reasons, generally speaking, are the fact that I think what she has done to Erica and Charlie Kirk is demonic. All right, so I am extremely biased in this. I'm trying to be fair, but of course the bias is there and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. He did concede a couple of times where I don't think he should have, and he did let her speak over him a bit too much. Although then again, he is at her house, so maybe it's difficult to be that confrontational when you're at someone else's house. Maybe there is a psychological aspect to it. And then the infamous part where she's asking him to name the reasons for the incarceration of Tyler Robinson, and he couldn't do it. That optically looked bad. But then again, it has nothing to do with the core argument of the debate. So once again, Candace Owens fanboys who try to pretend that because of that, or she won, then you don't understand how the debate works, even in its premises, like you don't know what's being debated. The final thing, I do think Andrew Wilson won. I just don't think it was a slam dunk. I think he marginally won, so kind of a Pyrrhic victory, if you will, because he did manage to, at the end of the day, prove that the way she is presenting her evidence, that she calls evidence, and doesn't even qualify as evidence in my opinion, for Tyler Robinson. I mean, he got her to admit to a 0% chance, which shows she's a conspiracy theorist. She doesn't have the evidence to come up with that number. And in fact, when people are trying to attack Andrew saying that, oh, he said there is overwhelming evidence in favor of the fact that Tyler Robinson is the assassin, and then when she asked him to quantify it in a percentage-wise, he said 75 to 80%. And people are like bitching about, oh, overwhelming now is 80%. And you're not complaining about the 0. By the way, yeah, that's fine. Overwhelming is not 100%. You could say overwhelming is 90% if you really want to be pedantic about it. But it's not 100%. That would be absolute evidence, not overwhelming. On the other hand, though, I think it's more questionable that she says 0%, because you have to, it would have been, in fact, more defensible to say 99% and just leave that 1%. The reality is that with what she has, I mean, even 50-50 would be difficult to defend. But had she gone 99%, at least someone could have said, well, she leaves the 1% possibility. No, she goes for 0%. 0% is absolute certainty, and it's insane. It showed off her insanity. She's a conspiracy theorist. She doesn't care. She doesn't know how evidence actually works. And she just believes something because I feel /vibes. Now, one thing I want to say before we continue this, just to be clear. People have been telling me, oh, but Metatron, you will lose fans because you're attacking Candace Owens and her fan base. Well, first and foremost, I do not care. What kind of a spineless coward would I be if that type of rhetoric/tactic actually worked with me? I would lose all respect for me, honestly, if I told you, oh, this is what I actually think. I hate the kind of stuff that she does, but I'm not going to say it because I'm scared. People are going to click away. People are going to unsubscribe. What? Why would you even follow someone who thinks that way? No, if you think something, say it. And if people are going to get offended by it, well, so be it. I'll take it. But the other thing is that I want to underline, because on one of my posts, I actually agreed with Asmongold on this one, when he's talking about how anyone who takes Candace Owens seriously is a retard. Now, here's the thing. Do I think that anyone who watches Candace Owens, or maybe you watch her, do I think you're a retard, you're an idiot? No, I don't. I don't have a problem with people who just want to watch anyone and want to listen to lots of different ideas and positions. And I'm obviously not expecting you to just accept blindly whatever the heck the government says. Absolutely not. No, that's not, or politicians in general. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the people that I personally think are absolute imbeciles are the cultist fans, the ones that will come and insult you, attack you, try to use manipulation tactics, try to dig stuff on you. Yeah, those people are disgusting. But that's not the entirety of our audience now, is it? The entirety of your audience is formed by a core of absolutely psycho fans. Yes, those are scum. But then there is also people who just want to watch her. There's nothing wrong. But they don't go around and try to attack people, act like absolute Neanderthals, try to cancel you and that kind of stuff, insult you, attack your family, attack your dignity. So, no, I don't have a problem with people who, if there is any form of overlap between my community, and maybe some of you do watch a show, so what? I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with the psychopaths, which I think it's normal. And unfortunately, they can be found in all sorts of communities. With that out of the way, let's see what some people said. For instance, what does Warren Smith thinks?
Andrew Wilson is playing a very specific game. Andrew Wilson is playing a very specific game. Okay. Most people will not even see it. This has nothing to do with how I feel about either of these people. If you block out the noise and examine only the logic, suddenly you can see it in a different light.
Between 0 to 100, what is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know, I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
And then PBD turns to Candace, and this is the most...
Oh, he went up to 85%. I forgot about that. Yeah, okay, so he's focusing on one of the areas that I think are the most important and revealing of this entire debacle, the percentages. The percentages.
Important moment in the entire debate.
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0. So with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
And that's the claim. She says there's a 0% chance. I mean, we're talking certainty here.
You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day, as I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
If you're convinced there's a 0% chance, there must be some evidence of that beyond just, well, I think there's room for error.
Do you have
this is a very fair, like, even if you're a fan of Candace, okay? I just said I'm not attacking you if you're just a normal person, but you have to concede 0%. You can have your doubts. That's perfectly fine. You could say, I've studied this, I've looked into it, and this, and the. By the way, the prints on the weapon, we need to talk about that, because I think that was a pretty weak position from her. And hindsight, which is 2020, I kind of have a different counter argument to that, so we'll talk about it in a second. But in general, you could tell me, I don't trust him. I don't believe that he did it, but 0% can only pertain to the realm of certainty with scientific at this point. Like, it has to be, you can prove it. Prove it. If you can't prove it, you can't have 0%. That's how it works.
0%.
If you're convinced there's a 0% chance, there must be some evidence of that beyond just, well, I think there's room for error.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
I got excited. I was like, I'm going to learn something here because I want to figure this out. Based on the evidence she presents, I will change my mind.
Like, we should go over the actual evidence that we feel.
The first
feel? You feel? Bro, literally. Do you have any evidence to substantiate this claim of 0%? She says feel.
reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene.
Yeah.
That would be an example of material evidence.
Yes.
We have something we can actually point to. Now, you can claim
Analyze.
there's more to it, and that's what Candace does with DNA. This gets into a really interesting debacle.
You could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces.
What does she mean by you can have DNA of something you never touched? Like you sneezed on it? Or what is she talking about?
Items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation.
Right here, she admits that items 20, 40 years on do not have degradation.
Right.
Logically, therefore, degradation of DNA cannot be used to measure time.
Right.
Therefore, we cannot determine whether or not Tyler Robinson was the last person to touch the gun based on your claim.
True.
Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5+ other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah.
This is so strange that she's using this and people don't see it for what it is. So I'm just going to say this. One, prints could be wiped. That's the reason why officers responding to any scene, they're investigating, they have to put on they have to put on the gloves, because otherwise they're going to leave their own prints. But then they take the stuff, they put it inside the bags. Why do you think they do that? If there is my fingerprints on this and I do this, it's already degraded. Might still be in there, but it's degraded. There's a lot of stuff that can degrade prints, and this is a fact. So once again, for instance, maybe let's have a look at the prints on the trigger. That could be an idea. But even if you take it and you put it inside a backpack, that could degrade some prints. If you move it around, if you drop it right somewhere and it touches the soil, all of this can degrade prints. So how do you go to 0%? I'm not saying don't question it. Question it. Why is it degraded? And then see what professionals say. But 0%?
Yeah, that doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
Right.
there's more presence of somebody else's prints, and that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into
But it
various
also
places.
could demonstrate nothing.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. So
People quoted this as if it was a great own. It really isn't. It's just a condescending answer. I mean, given there was one comment that actually made me laugh that said, Andrew Wilson just paid $300,000 to argue with a pregnant woman. That was really funny. I want to give it to you. That was funny because it's pregnant women and arguing. Yeah, you know. So that was funny. But still.
I'm going to move on from that.
This reminds me when I'm trying to debate someone about trans ideology. And they're trying to explain how a man can be a woman. This doesn't make sense. Can you explain it again? I can't understand it for you. I can only explain it to you. This science is very obvious, Warren.
Yeah, it's obnoxious, isn't it?
I don't know why people seem to think this is some gotcha.
It's
The
not.
entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I am doing.
Not the exact same thing, but I will leave. I found someone explaining it. I think Steven Crowder explained this, and I did fact checked. And perhaps there's a lawyer talking about it, but apparently she's wrong about this.
Here's Sam.
Okay, this one.
Prosecution. We'll take your chats, but
Check
she
this
claimed. So claim
Look.
that the prosecution has this incredibly weak case because the evidence presented at the preliminary hearing wasn't, quote, a slam dunk, and it was all hearsay. The truth: preliminary hearing is not a trial. Hearsay, by the way, is not always admissible, but reliable hearsay. That's the reason for the hearing taking place before the trial. The jury is going to hear all the evidence. That's when you drop the slam dunks.
That's a big moment. If we can't listen to anything that could be categorized as hearsay, we can't listen to your claim that someone in the French government told you about an attempted assassination plot, because that would be hearsay.
And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that he did this on Monday. Patrick's not here, and that is, they can allow that into the hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
But no, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter.
This was not actually a debate. She's not trying to argue that her claim is stronger. She's simply trying to argue, hey, it's viable and it's okay for me to think.
That's true, and it is okay for her to think. But that was not the core argument of the debate.
And I agree.
But the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence.
No,
That's what you're saying
it's
to
not.
me.
And somehow she spins this into Andrew saying people can't infer off of evidence, which is the opposite of what I thought he was saying. I thought he was asking you for the evidence that you're using to infer your conclusion.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, that was what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is
Great, but
describing,
we're asking you
that
now.
he is using to argue his case, is all based on inference, not fact.
What? The court claims they have text messages in which he confesses. Pointing to that is not an inference. It's a fact. The court claims to have that.
I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means Patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
I didn't say it equals Patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored.
The claim
Should be explored is not 0%.
was there's a 0% chance.
Exactly. I mean, guys, I swear I didn't watch this beforehand. But you see, I had the exact same counter argument as Warren Smith, which, to be honest, Warren Smith is very intelligent. So I'm happy to. I have to have this guy on the channel one day to maybe talk, not necessarily about politics, but about logics and intelligence, education, maybe education where school is going. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. But like, it's like you said 0%. Now you got to defend it.
Tyler Robinson did this. This is not over whether or not you can explore this or
Exactly.
that.
It is plausible
That's a deflection.
that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
That's it? Then how are you getting to Patsy?
If there's
And 0%.
There's
the
100 other
state's evidence
plausible
and they're
explanations then, Candace.
Yeah.
Why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a Patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a Patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole defense, your whole claim
No,
today.
my whole claim was that there is more evidence that he has set up as a Patsy.
How does that?
And that's the problem, though. If there is more evidence, that's not definitive evidence. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. So how do you get 0%? She really put herself in a corner when she said 0%, by the way, which is probably what he had prepared for, because he knew she was going to do it, and probably he had some tangents in case that didn't work, but it did work. It did work. And now you said 0%. So now it's not about, no, for me, this also makes sense. I want to explore it. I don't believe the authorities. That's something she uses a few times. And that can resonate with people, particularly because politicians lie all the time. So that was a strong comeback from her because people can relate to that. Anyone, in fact, can relate to that, left, right, and center. People are distrustful of the authorities and main bodies because oftentimes they've been proven to lie. But then she really destroyed her entire foundation when she admitted 0%, because then you have to ask, based on what? And when you can't, but all you do is, well, based on this, but that's not enough. And then she's like, yeah, but it's sufficient to explore it. But then why 0% then? It means that she's a conspiracy theorist which believes through vibes. And that's a problem. Because then she failed to defend the position. The idea was, let's debate. And at the end of the debate, people watching can be, you know what, I think she has a point. You know what, I think he has a point. On who freaking murdered Charlie Kirk. But if you say 0% and then you can't prove, you didn't show us, hey, look, I got a picture. It's this other guy. I can prove it, guys. Definitive. This is why it's 0%. Then you lose credibility. Then why do I trust you? Which is why I think oftentimes you push well, you said you had a dream, because I mean, it's on the same level. It's what you want it to be, not to mention. I'm just going to say it, and I wish you did. I think it's the reason why she doesn't want people to accept Tyler Robinson as the Robinson is one, of course, the monetary gain of doing 11 months of I know the truth, they're lying to you, which gave her millions upon millions upon millions. So there is that problem. And then there is the fact that objectively she's jealous of Erica Kirk. I'm just going to say it. Because that level of viciousness and poison that this woman has been putting towards a widow is quite frankly disgusting. And I think when she was, and then she tried to say, because she said she was involved, that's another part where I think he really did a good job, Andrew, against her, because she clearly showed the public, because she said Erica Cook is involved, and when Andrew Wilson rebutted and said, so you said you claimed that she's involved with the death of Charlie Kirk, and then she took it back. No, I never said the death. Well, then what do you mean? And then they showed the clip where she wanted Erica Kirk dragged to jail. The woman who just had her husband shot? No, she needs to be with her kids or do whatever the heck she wants that helps her process. So if it's going to work, go to work. It's jealousy. It's jealousy.
Here's a Candace claim that she made today. The only claim that she made, I never claimed anything about Erica Kirk. Then they showed it. She said, well, you're taking it out of context. I was saying that Erica was complicit, not in Charlie being killed, nor TPUSA. I said she was complicit in saying that Tyler Robinson did it. The truth. Let's play that montage that I believe came from Milk Bar. We had some other ones too.
Amount of evidence that is now piling up against Erica Kirk. I've seen enough. Erica Kirk should be dragged into a police precinct. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was something akin to a regicide, right? The assassination of a king to install a new ruler who the king would have never approved of. Turning Point USA for Erica Kirk.
What a monster.
And what I think is fair to refer to as their federal accomplices.
Sorry, she should be dragged into a precinct.
Unbelievable. She lies. So half of the points when you think she destroyed Andrew Wilson were lies. How do you even defend that? That's how it is.
Equal evidence of Patsy.
I don't know how many times I can say this.
That's a valid question. And the response he continues to get is, I can't understand it for you, Andrew. I can only explain it to you. Explain what?
Whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
You just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
that never happened. You're just making stuff up.
That's not saying you can't make inferences. He's just saying your inference doesn't add up to Patsy. It doesn't make sense. That's all he's saying. He's not saying you can't think.
So I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay, so I would like to know how you got to the conclusion. And I'm just going to throw it right back at you because for some reason
And that's fine, but his conclusion is stronger than yours simply because he said 75 to 85%. Had he said 100%, then his conclusion wouldn't have been as weak as yours, because then you've got to say, but how do you say that without definitive evidence, and not to mention the courts haven't finished? So there's that.
Permit yourself to do it, and that's what I'm demonstrating, is that you permit yourself to do it, and then you say, when I do it, it's a conspiracy.
But what about Andrew Wilson's inference does not make sense? Confession, gun found, DNA, security footage, inference. Which one of those doesn't make sense?
If you're asking for my inference, why I think it's Tyler Robinson is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say.
I would. I'm sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm paraphrasing,
but it was close to it.
Yeah,
If you may have it.
I think
And
that's
by the
not
way,
right.
Right there, she said, I don't think that's right.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember this, and I'm happy to have it.
But you said I don't think it's right. Then once again, that tells us about your methodology. You're not rigorous, Candace. You make statements. I don't think that's how it is without the evidence. Without the evidence. I wouldn't have said that. I'm nowhere near the popularity and wit of these people. But if someone told me this happened, I would say, did it? I never heard of that. Can you show it to me? I wouldn't say, I don't think it's true before I see the freaking evidence about it. This is insane to do that, because then he does a oof. And yeah, it is a oof.
A fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said, I don't remember that.
Well, rewind. But whatever.
Okay.
So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned.
Parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition.
But it has to be tempered.
But your intuition could be wrong, right? It's fine. If you think something is wrong, that's okay. But then you need to look at evidence before saying 0%. I'm going to keep hammering that.
With logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition's the first step.
But we don't get to the second step. She just continues to talk about intuition.
Yeah.
Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being overwhelmed.
Well, they're trusting their intuition.
Okay.
I guess we still haven't parked it. All right.
Parking that aside. Parking aside just your general intuition. That's sometimes I might be second messages.
What did she just say?
Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple?
I mean, it's possible. Do we have any evidence indicating that?
She's siding and counterattacking against TPS USA, and with all the faults that the organization can have. What are you doing? Charlie Kirk is dead. His widow is grieving, and she is grieving. For anyone who says, that's not how I would have grieved, who cares? Whatever works for her, works for her. Who are you to point the finger at however she processes, she does it. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. The kids, the children are not going to have a father. And the insane radical left-winger who shot him, the left had been trying to say that not only there were the people that laughed at it and thought it was hilarious, next to the kids, is what people were saying. But then on top of that, they were saying, no, it's a Republican who did it. The guy was a Republican because the parents were Republicans. Yeah, so were Destiny's parents. So are Destiny's parents. In fact, he said if they die, he wouldn't even care. So, I mean, what does that prove? It doesn't prove anything. Was Andrew Wilson's performance a 10 out of 10? No. Maybe a 7 out of 10. Could he have done better? Yes. Could I have done better? Absolutely not. But he won. At least that's what I think. Because almost the entirety of the times where she had the upper hand were either lies, that now are proven to be false, or were irrelevant to the topic at hand. For instance, you need to be able to mnemonically recite all of these accusations. It's optics. But at the end of the day, that's my opinion. Let me know, and make sure to insult me in the comment section so the video gets engagement. Bye.